Here we go. And I'm going to give a background action before the action. Yep. Yep. Here we go. And roll sound. Rolling. Speed.
78, take 1, 8 camera.
I don't endorse, everything in either the novel or the film of Crash. To some extent, both are cautionary tales. They warn against the kind of nightmare marriage between sex and technology that is being celebrated within our minds every day of the year. Both are warnings, but at the same time, they're invitations to explore this terrain cautiously, thoughtfully, but openly and frankly, because that's the most important thing of all. Crash, above all, is a frank novel, and David has produced this even more frank film.
Well, for me, one of the magic parts of any artistic process is to call forth responses to whatever it is that you're doing that are not button push kind of responses, are not the normal kind of knee-jerk responses that you get from most entertainment, which basically says this is going to make you laugh, this is going to make you cry, it's not going to be too complicated. I think if you come away from Crash feeling in an intense emotional state, but not one that you could exactly say what it is, then I think that the movie has worked properly, because it avoids it, as Ballard's book does. It avoids all the emotional response cliches that are there, which in making the film, for me, I had to consider as pitfalls to be avoided, because as soon as you go for the cheap laugh or cry or feeling of tragic relief, you are, I think, betraying what drew me to the film, to the book in the first place, which is this very strange, complex response that you have to it.
David's films, dating very far back, his films are so uniquely his own, and there's only a handful of filmmakers, I think, that you can say that about, where they really have such a strong signature themselves. And no one else can do the films that they do. And David's one of those people. And some of his films are very disturbing, and some of his films are very funny, and almost all of them are sort of a mixture of a lot of different things. But it's hard to articulate what it is that make them his, but they are all his, and quite... Anyway, and I'm excited by that. I was very... and wanted to work with him very badly. This, quite by coincidence, I guess, I was sent the screenplay for Crash, and was very interested and excited by the material, but I'm not so sure I would have done it if David wasn't directing it.
You feel like there's a net underneath when you go out on a limb, and there's a net that he's gonna look out for you, and I just love him. There's his energy, right? His energy radiates to everyone on the set, and we get a chance to. He's assembled a group of people that he has worked with many times before, and the actors, and we're in this sandbox, and what else can we do? Well, and the fact that all the actors are excited about their roles is he's just delighted. He's just, we're all lucky,
I had wanted to work with Cronenberg for years, and about once every 6 months I would ask my agent, so what's Cronenberg up to? And he became very, very accustomed to just checking into Cronenberg's office to see what was going on. And when Crash came up, once again he made his regular, obligatory phone call for me. And there were some women's roles that might be interesting for me to look into. And Cronenberg offered me this role of Helen Remington. And I read the book by J.G. Ballard, and I just really wanted to be involved in a very dark world, and Cronenberg, without exception, explores that. I mean, I certainly know as I go on in my career that I find it much more interesting to tackle parts that are far away from myself. That's the area that I find most exciting for me to venture into. And this movie certainly supplied me with that. I think it harkens back to what I was saying before about being in a naturalistic style movie or being in a Cronenberg movie. It's just much more challenging. It's much more scary. It's much riskier to depart really from who I am and go somewhere quite a bit far away.
The incident of the car accident for James is the catalyst that reveals to me we are no longer one. Something's happened to him that does not include me, and I am no longer satisfying enough. Our way is no longer enough. And in order to aim for that kind of ultimate fusion with him, I am then required to go on a journey.
Ballard, James Ballard, the character I play in the film, gets in a car crash very early on in the film, and it changes his life. In some ways, it's a liberating experience. In some ways, it's an ignition within him in an odd way. His eyes open in a way that they weren't open before. And then the story becomes a series of crashes in different ways throughout the film, you know, crashes in a very literal sense, car crashes, and then also human collisions, you know, and it's interesting how the two become inseparable.
That's why you need airbags in your vehicle.
It's something like 25 years since I wrote Crash, and in a sense I think the prophecy that Crash embodies has been fulfilled. I think people recognize that. People are much more honest about the nature of their own sexualities, about the nature of their own imaginations. They're much more aware of the role that the technological landscape plays in their lives. I think no prediction of the future, even 25 years ahead, could be accurate, but I'm not disappointed in the prophecies, you know, that I made when I wrote Crash, and I think had I been wrong, it wouldn't have been possible to film the book so effectively as David has done.